Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Tasha's Tales. Today I have my work bestie with me. James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm James. I'm Natasha's colleague, and I'd like to say her main male friend. But yeah, we met at work,
Yes.
and we've been pretty close since then.
Yeah. So James, like you said, you are my only male friend and my
Feel
work
honoured.
bestie. I'm probably the only reason I've stayed at work because you've been an incredible source of support for me. Like, you're always there and I appreciate you.
It's good. Thank you very much.
So like you were, interestingly enough, you were my maternity when I went on maternity leave in 2018. You covered my role, didn't you, back in 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I used to come in with Niall and talk to you like I've known you for years.
That's pretty standard, though. You just came in and just chatted anyway into anyone.
And then I think we became friends quite quickly, though, didn't we? Like, I think because we were the youngest in the team, we just kind of got on.
I think the link was there, and obviously you knew my dad.
Can we please talk about that?
Yes, we can. Yeah, that was very weird that you knew my dad, who worked up in North Shields with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for anyone listening, we had actually been talking to each other and working together for a few months before you mentioned your dad, and I was like, "What? William, kid?" And you were like, "Yeah, that's my dad." I was like, "No way," because so your dad worked with me in North Tyneside, and he was like a manager, and he left a beautiful card for all the workers, and I've still got that card. Do you want to tell us about that card?
So it was my granddad would do. He was an artist, and he did comics, and he did like a card for my dad as like he used it as like a way of kind of like a leaving gift in that respect.
Oh, did he?
So that's what my dad did lots of cartoons and did comics and things like that. But what part of it was obviously about spinning plates and social work. So one of it was like you just constantly going crazy spinning those plates, and it was obviously a cartoon of my dad on there. So I think he's done that ever since, really. Whenever he's gone, he's tried to support whoever's been there he's working for. He's always been quite supportive and wanting to do that. So that's probably,
what a beautiful man.
And that's part of where I probably wanted to get that from, is my dad. He's just quite a supportive man, so it's quite good.
You know what's really funny is the fact that I don't remember many people or names or faces, really. I'm quite bad at it. But he was the one person who I really clearly remembered for his kindness, for his kind of ability to speak to people who were just on the ground, frontline social workers, and making that extra effort. Because he wasn't my manager. He was in a completely different team and a manager there, yet he was still able to build those relationships. And obviously I had the privilege of meeting him again at your wedding, which was really nice. So obviously we became friends. We had that crazy link with your dad, and then you got married, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about fatherhood.
Yep.
Tell me all about it.
Where to start with kind of the craziness of it, of not...
Let's talk about what it was like. Like, how did you prepare? What did you imagine fatherhood to look like?
I knew it was going to be tough. I think people kind of go, yeah, come on, be a dad. And then like, once you join that club, they're like, welcome to hell. It's like, all right, cool. Thanks. You didn't warm it. It's like, we just wanted you to be part of the club, how hard it is. I was like, okay, great. Thank you. Like, my best mate said exactly that. He was like, when are you going to be a dad? When are you going to do it? And we knew we always planned to get married. And then my wife, Freya, and I now, it was 8 years we were together, and she'd been saying for a while for us about getting married. We did. And then obviously soon after we found out we were pregnant, only a few months after getting married. But I think I'd always known it was going to be tough.
Yeah.
And challenging and all those kind of things. But
I mean, I did warn you. Every time I came in, I was like, listen, mate, like, really think about this, because it ain't easy.
Yeah. But it's probably one of those best thing we've ever done. Like, I don't know, it's a different kind of love that you've got that you can't ever describe to someone unless you're in, which I never thought I'd have. I think me and Freya have talked about it and how our love for each other is quite strong, but it's just completely different with a child. There's that, I don't know, there's something in you that's like, it's like a protectiveness of like, being in that, which I'd never had before.
Don't you also think like your concept of family unit changes once you become a
Yeah,
parent? So
yeah,
you, like you said, that protectiveness, like for me, it's very much like my husband and my children, like
yeah,
my family unit, and that
yeah,
I need to protect like that unit. It kind of solidifies the
yeah.
relationship as well, doesn't it?
Very much became Freya and I. Then that's our family, and I
Mm.
think obviously our parents, they're our extended family, but we do things like, and we say when we're doing things as a family, it's
Now
us as
we
a
mean
three,
it's yeah,
us
yeah,
three and the dog sometimes, but
yeah.
yeah.
So what did you do? You how was Freya's pregnancy? Was okay, wasn't it?
She had some risks involved where we'd had to have more scans than we probably wanted to. There was there was a few risks there, but everything was okay.
Yeah.
But Evan, he was born. It was an emergency C-section in the end. So after Freya went into labour, it was on. She was in labour for 24 hours
Oh
before
my God.
they kind of said, "Look, it's not progressing as well as we'd like," and it was
Mm.
emergency C-section, which was
Are you
every.
comfortable talking about
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Because I think, you know, from my point of view, I don't hear many males talk about their experience of what it was like witnessing the love of their life going through one of the major surgeries. Like, so yeah, if you want to tell your kind of side of things, that'd be brilliant.
yeah. So she was in labour for 24 hours, but it got to a point when there were concerns that Evan was stuck,
Mm.
and they were told she wasn't going to progress any further unless she was going to be in further pain, and there might be some complications. He was
Yeah.
getting quite distressed. So obviously Freya was so out of it, she couldn't really make a decision. So it was about down to me to
Mm.
kind of ask those questions about risks and all those kind of things, and we had to sign, obviously, to say that if you're having this operation, you accept those risks. So we knew of that. But I think going into it is quite overwhelming. You're dressed up
Mm.
in scrubs. You've got to go in. They asked us what, and obviously I came in after Freya had been prepped and she was there, and there was a screen there, so we didn't see anything. So I sat with her, and they asked us what music we wanted to play to, and we had Fleetwood Mac playing. That was our
Did
request.
you?
Yeah, we
Oh,
had Fleetwood
cool.
Mac, and the surgeons were amazing. They were kind of like great choice and just played it on a mix and
Mm.
stuff.
How
Um,
did you feel in that moment in time?
it was terrifying, but it was kind of exciting because it was like, oh, we're finally gonna meet him
Yeah.
finally. But they didn't tell us directly at the time, but when he came out, he wasn't breathing, so we heard him then cry. They said to us, oh, he's not breathing, so we're gonna have to give him some compressions. It was like 10 seconds, then he started crying.
Oh my
But what they
goodness.
didn't tell at the time, it's like it was over a minute he wasn't breathing properly. So, but then I got to see Evan first and saw him on the table there, and then we got to bring him over with Freya and on there, which was quite amazing in itself, and that was quite special. But then after that, they had to obviously operate on Freya to kind of
Yeah.
sew her back up. But then they took me to another room with Evan and just left me with Evan.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
in the recovery room next door. But
Oh
nurses
gosh. Do you
came
know
in and out.
no one's ever spoke about that before. So
Yeah,
you were just
yeah,
left with Evan
yeah,
in a
yeah,
room.
yeah. So they kind of talk about the kind of golden hour that they have, and
Oh.
Freya didn't necessarily get that as much as she'd like to. It was me. I think the one thing I've talked about I kind of regret was they asked me did I want to take my t-shirt off and hold him there, and I was so overwhelmed that I just was like, no, I'll have him here, and just held him.
Mm.
But I had it later on. But I think when
Kind of that skin to skin.
that skin to skin, yeah, that kind of skin to skin contact, because I think they talk about how important that is. I think
Mm.
I think it's one of Freya's kind of upsets as well about not having that directly. But when,
But you know what, James? Like when we think about it, there's so many things, especially the first time around, we can have so many regrets and things, but you're only doing your best.
yeah,
And no one can really prepare you
yeah,
for that moment in time.
no, so it was quite overwhelming that, but it was just amazing just having him there and looking at me and just like staring up, which is amazing.
Oh,
And then Freya came in afterwards, and she did that skin to skin then.
yeah.
Um,
What about recovery then? What was that like for you as a dad, seeing your wife? You know, because a recovery from C-section is not easy, is it?
No, so I think we knew obviously it wouldn't have been easy, but I think because she had she had to have a deeper cut because he was stuck. The recovery time was quite more significant. She was in a lot of pain. she couldn't move for effectively 2 weeks and had to kind of, I did a lot of the care for those first few weeks. She couldn't pick him up out of the cot. She couldn't get up when he cried. She couldn't do I think she was kind of, we wanted to kind of not co-sleep, but have him in the next to me
the
bit
little,
so he can, but she couldn't do that. We struggled with breastfeeding initially. That was quite a lot of issues with that.
And I think for a dad, like I know from personal experience, but I think dads, that's really, really hard because you feel so helpless because you can't take kind of that load or share the load, can you?
Yeah, so there was a lot of that. And I think Evan then, because we had issues breastfeeding initially, milk didn't come through, that he'd lost a lot of weight. Like he'd lost like 15-16% of his body weight. So we had to go into hospital again and do lots of, after about 4 or 5 days. And then we were in and out for the first few weeks because they were really concerned about his weight. Even though he came out as 9 pounds, he was quite a healthy, good weight. He lost quite a lot of that, and he was struggling.
Scary.
Yeah, he was struggling. He wasn't even taking a bottle. He was being sick every time he had a bottle. There was some concerns about maybe having to tube feed him and things like that. So there was all those kind of things going on in the background. And Freya was obviously just still recovering. She couldn't just. Yeah, so she was in and out of hospital.
So who was your support in that time then? Who would you say that, how did you cope and survive? Because obviously you were there for Freya, but who was there for you? Who was like your support?
I think I probably didn't speak to as many people as I probably should have done. I think I was just in a bit of a bubble of trying to just manage it. I spoke to, I think probably more afterwards, was a charity called Dad Matters. That was really quite helpful.
Did you?
Yeah,
they
were really good. I think because they got it from that kind of perspective of being a dad, and
because
those
I
kind of
think it is massively, when we talk about kind of even NCT classes, you went to NCT classes, didn't you? And yes, dads are involved, but no one really asks the dads how they're doing. Like the midwife, the health visitors would obviously naturally will speak to women about their experiences, but I don't think anyone really asks the dad, well, how are you doing? What's your coping mechanisms or what support you've got in place?
Luckily, the midwife we did have was really good. I've been with Freya since like day dot and knew me.
Oh, really?
So she did ask me how I was. Like she was kind of like, James, how are you? Like that's obviously a lot, which was really good.
Yeah.
I think because she had built a relationship with Freya.
Yeah.
And myself and knew me because I was doing a lot of the care. Freya hadn't. I think she didn't even change a nappy for the first 10 days because she couldn't bend over. So I was doing all those kind of things. So I think I kind of went into a bit of a
automatic
auto mode of just like, I need to do this. So I was just doing everything.
I think naturally when you're in that crisis mode though, you do become a bit of an autopilot, don't you?
Yeah.
In terms of just wanting to get the job done.
Yeah. I had like friends come around, drop food off, do bits like that. But I think for the first, we didn't have people around for, I think we had after about 4 or 5 days, I think Freya's family came and we had my family come after that. But the first time my parents met, everyone was in hospital. So it was quite kind of not the first time.
Ideal.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, in terms of support, I think I probably spoke to more people after we'd had things settled down and everyone we knew who was going to be at home and not having to be in hospital for a lot longer.
I feel like you're so emotionally intelligent that you have the ability to recognize it and seek support, which I think's a real kind of credit to you. And like to go out and speak to Dad Matters is really good.
I think I'm probably better at speaking to people I don't know sometimes.
Yeah.
And just kind of because I think I'm very good at kind of talking to my friends about their issues and things like that. But I don't normally. I'm probably worse at the other way around of it, like ask and speaking to them about stuff that's going on with me. So I'm probably better at speaking to people I don't know about it. And that,
but it's really good that you recognise that.
Yeah. Really I will speak to them if they ask me and go, what's going on, and say it's been tough. But I think in this moment, I found it more useful speaking to Dad Matters, they're a charity, they're really good. I would recommend anyone to kind of just advice and things like that, because the guy who I spoke to his wife had gone through C-section and things like that, and just everything that went on from there afterwards. So it's quite helpful.
So is that someone that you just contacted yourself? And
well, it's in Stepping Hill in Stockport where we had Evan. All the kind of signs were about, and they're quite good at kind of giving out information to mums and dads afterwards, and I just kind of thought, yeah, I need to chat to someone here really
Oh,
about
well
this.
done,
So
you,
yeah,
James. That's
yeah,
amazing.
because yeah, it's quite intense. It was very intense, and I think people don't prepare for that really.
No. And I think you can't because naturally everyone's journey is so different. So, you not only did you have that little bit of a scare with Freya during her pregnancy, but then you ended up having an emergency C-section. And then you were told that your baby wasn't breathing. On top of that,
Mm,
he's losing weight and you're in and out of the hospital. It is a lot.
yeah,
Like me, even just saying it out loud feels like a lot.
yeah,
So I can only imagine for you and Freya how difficult it must have been. But I know you two are solid
yeah.
and you've got lots of lovely people around you. What advice would you give to any other dads who might be listening to it or to our conversation or, any words of wisdom?
I think it'd be more kind of it will be intense and there's a pressurized bit there, but just kind of have some ways of like even if you just got like 5-10 minutes to yourself, just
Mm,
even just kind of doing bits if you need to look after yourself in those ways of like even if you just need to eat, you need to eat and then you can look after them and do that. Shower, though it's those kind of bits, but also speak if you can try and speak to people who you feel comfortable with, it's doing
mm.
that.
I know you were taking Bonnie out for walks, weren't you,
Yeah.
at that time?
Bonnie's my dog.
Yeah,
And she's,
Bonnie's
yeah.
dog.
But no, she was with my parents for a bit and then she came back
Mm,
with us when everyone was a bit better. And we were kind of going on walks and doing that. That probably helped and things like that. And that would be when I would normally kind of talk to like friends and stuff just to
yeah,
give Freya that kind of space. So that was the kind of a good escape in that way. But
yeah,
my brother-in-law and my sisters had their little boy and had similar experience going through a C-section as well. So I was able to speak to him
you're a pro now, James.
a little bit. Yeah, I was able to support him and just kind of like say to him
Mm,
like, "This is what you're probably gonna have to do the next few weeks afterwards."
mm.
And it did. It all, yeah, it
It's
needed a
really,
lot of
really good
support.
though, isn't it? Because unless and until you talk about these things, how are you going to be able to
Yeah,
either receive the support or give the support?
yeah. I think there's a preconception that a C-section is the easier
Mm,
way of having a baby, but it's really not
no,
because I don't think people understand the actual
gravity of it.
yeah the it's a significant surgery
Mm,
and it requires I think about 8 weeks worth of
yeah.
full
So you
recovery.
can't drive for the first
No,
however many
no,
weeks and
you can't
months, can
drive,
you?
you can't like picking up heavy objects,
Mm,
but that heavy object also includes a baby, so she couldn't hold Evan for but she was obviously trying to breastfeed him at the same time, so it was really quite a lot.
yeah. How old's Evan now?
He's he's 10 months, he's a year
Gosh, that's gone
in
so quick.
July, and he's doing really well now, which is really good. I think we've me and Forever we were talking about this the other day, but I think we'll always have like oh god we're worried about his weight. I think that's
Mm.
always there, but he's doing amazingly.
I
Like
think there's something
yeah,
about parents' anxiety, isn't it? You're always thinking about like, do you think? So I always think this as a social worker, whether I overthink everything with my children. But do you ever think like the knowledge that we have with about children that kind of comes into the parenting of whether we're doing things right or not?
I like to think so, but I think what I said to Freya, I said I think obviously with our line of work, we see some children who are walking, talking, doing all those things, and have kind of seen or experienced horrific things, and that child is walking in. But I mean,
Yeah,
but so obviously he's going to get to that stage. I think I was worried. Oh God, what if he's not going to get to that
those
developmental those
milestones.
milestones that
Yeah,
they pressurize on it?
yeah.
Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? But I know he will because he's doing
He's
really well, and
amazing, isn't
yeah, he's
he?
doing yeah, yeah.
What are your favorite things and what have been like your highlights in the last 10 months of being a dad?
I think just being able to, I think I've got an audience who will laugh, and I don't really do much. That's, so I can make him laugh loads. I love that, and just being able to kind of be there as a dad and actually say I'm a dad to him, and he's part of me. I think that's
Yeah.
probably nice, and I think seeing him change every day for the like the good things and smile and kind of even all the things like the teeth coming through and that was tough, but it's just seeing him like that and eating really well and just being a
Tell us
greedy
a
little
little
thing.
bit about, because you like to cook. You're an amazing cook. I've had a few bits and
Yeah.
pieces of what you've been making over the years. Tell us all about what the kind of things you've been making for him.
I think what we want for Evan, we wanted him to just try everything as much as we could, so he didn't kind of have like, oh, what's that? I don't want it. So I think my attitude is just like, he needs to try it, he needs to try everything. We didn't really buy pureed food. We did for like the fruit and stuff, that was quite helpful, but we gave his first foods like avocado, things he could hold, and he just loved having that and having bits of fruit and just having it. And I think we did that quite early on because we wanted him to have that experience with it. And he's
Yeah.
so confident with it, and he'll just try most things, which is kind of what we want.
He's got a
And
proper amazing palate, hasn't he? Is it,
yeah,
from like our conversations, there's not much that he'll say no to.
we well, he does like spice. He does enjoy spicy food. Actually, we've done
Does
yeah.
he?
Give him some chili, but quite strong chili, and he was like, "Yep, he'll
Oh
eat that." And it's like,
wow!
okay,
Even my Nile won't have
yeah.
spicy food.
So he enjoys the spicy food. He loves kind of, he'll eat like just bits of like spicy Nando's chicken and things like that.
Go
Yeah,
on, lad.
yeah. So he's doing well. He is doing well.
Oh,
I
he's
think
so
he's got
gorgeous.
to that point where he's like, he sees the food and he's like, give it to me now. But we were so conscious about kind of like allergies and things, and we just wanted like, he's tried every nut we can try
That's
and done
amazing.
that. But I think also, I think it's like, there's that guilt of, oh, it's like if kids do have allergies, it's like you feel like it's your fault of some kind, isn't it? I don't know.
Tell me about it because obviously I live with kids and allergies and
Yes.
yeah.
And I think, yeah, it must be. And that's what I was worried about, because we both love, we don't, it'd be such a stress. And I know how much you've gone through with Niall. It's just good knowing, but there might be something that we come across that he might struggle with. We might be doing all these things now when he might experience it
Yeah.
later on, like he just struggles with.
I
So
think with each stage and phase, I think you go through a whole load of different anxieties and thoughts and queries and feelings, don't you?
it's a
And
bit of it's just so overwhelming, all the advice and all the things, and like, oh, what do we do? Is this right? Is that wrong? What can he eat? How much can he eat? Is he
mm,
gonna? I think we felt better after doing a kind of first aid course for babies, where like what to do if he chokes, because that was our anxiety,
yeah.
and that did help.
Yeah, I went
Um,
to one. I couldn't tell you what it was about now. It was many years ago. I think 6 years ago. And yeah, I can't remember. But at the time, I remember going to it and thinking, oh, luckily I've been to that. Like, I know
yeah,
what to do, I know what to look out for. And I think that really, really helped with my anxieties, even though I was not mentally prepared for the nut stuff.
no,
Anyways, going back to you, in terms of kind of what would you do differently? Is there anything that you would do differently? Get your reflection on,
give him
James.
reflection on. I'm good at asking those questions, but yeah, at the time, what would I do differently? I think I said to Freya, I probably would have had more times kind of doing all the things we said we probably were going to do beforehand, having a baby that we can't do now.
Like what?
I think like there were some places we wanted to visit now, like holidays abroad and things like that. This sounds really negative, but I'm trying not to be. But I think it's more, yeah, I've said to a few people, just like, if there's things that you want to do, that
Get
you
them out of
get
the
them out of the
way.
way, and but you might have to wait a while with the child
Yeah.
to go and do it
It's
later
not
on.
impossible, but it's hard. And
It's hard. You've
together,
got
you're
to
in a
think, yeah,
position to go through that hard. So, like, what looking back now, Niall was 3, maybe 4 months
mm,
when we went on our first holiday to Malta. And when I look back at the photos, it looks like we're having the most
mm,
amazing time. But I did not sleep for the 4 nights
yeah,
that we were there. We were all really unsettled,
yeah,
absolutely exhausted. And yes, it was great, but I really suffered at the time.
yeah.
So I completely get
Yeah,
that.
I think, yeah, I don't think there's too much to do, because I think we came into, I was 33 when I had Evan, so I wasn't so unlike realistic of what it was going to be like, or what I wanted to do, and loads of stuff I wanted to do before I had Evan. I felt ready, felt
Mm.
like this is the right time, really.
What
Um,
in terms of having time for yourself, have you found what how have you found that?
it's got easier now. He's a little bit older, and some we've got a bit of a routine with him and sleeping and things like that. I think it's probably much harder for Freya. She's obviously with him predominantly at the time through the day, to get that alone time. But we have that time in the evening together when we didn't have that before. We got a bit of routine.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes for dads, I think you're thrown back into work so quickly,
Yeah.
you probably have more alone time than I
Yeah,
would
that's
do.
so true.
So after 4 weeks, I had 4 weeks off. I was thrown back into work.
Can we please talk about the fact that you fought for people at our workplace, males, to get a longer paid paternity leave.
Yeah, so
Because well done, you. I'm so proud of you for doing that. I think that's absolutely incredible to advocate for other men and dads who don't really get the same kind of rights and time off with their children. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, so I work. They offer just only a week's full pay, and then after that it's stat, and then you have to request. I've requested annual leave, but I had to get it agreed. But I've known other workers who haven't been allowed that annual leave after.
So you had 1 week of paid paternity
Yeah,
leave, 1 week of statutory
yeah,
pay, which is awful, and 2 weeks of annual leave.
yeah. So I think I was probably lucky that I'd saved up that time, but I know obviously other workplaces I had a friend who wasn't offered it. I think he was just statutory paternity, and then he wasn't allowed any annual leave or anything. So at least our work was able to offer me that. But what they've now, when I came back,
What you've done, you mean, James?
when I came back, I put it to our union about actually this are some of the things that I think actually would be really helpful for new dads is getting that 2 weeks. We wanted more, obviously. If we could offer more, that'd be great. But we kind of came to a bit like 2 weeks, get the 2 weeks full, and we're going to work on it after that. So we're going to, myself and the union secretary, we're going to go back and see if we can get more for new dads, really. If it's like 4 weeks, that's what we're going to look at trying to do.
James, I'm so proud of you
So
for doing
they've done
that.
that, and then I think they've put in where if there's requested annual leave to follow it, they'll get it as well.
They have to honour it, basically.
Yeah, they honour that. So which is really good. Because I think I've spoken about it. If I didn't have that time, I would have gone off sick.
Yeah, you should be so chuffed with yourself though for fighting for the rights of other dads as well.
I think how it would have been is that because Freya was so like she couldn't do anything. She didn't have her family nearby to help out and be there every day. I think I don't know how we would have managed it if we didn't have that time. Yeah. But I know that I had a friend who he had to go back to work after a week. After a week, and his wife.
See, I was quite lucky that Ahmed had 2 weeks off, and although yes, that's not a long amount of time, we had those 2 weeks, and then a few weeks later, we had another 2 weeks together. And without Ahmed's support the first time around, I would have massively crumbled. He did, even though I didn't have a C-section, I was still struggling with my emotions more than anything else. Just having him there, being able to talk, just knowing that he was there actually made all the difference.
Yeah. So it's just different challenges. I think if I could have more time off, it would be amazing. It would be great if we could do that. I know that I think that's a big. I know they're wanting to change that kind of culture. I think the UK is probably the worst for paternity and maternity kind of covers and things like that. But I think that would be crucial because whilst everyone's got a lovely relationship with me, that relationship with Freya is obviously incredibly solid, which is great because she's kind of doing all the feeding and things like that. But I think you can see it's a stronger bond in that respect. And I love that they've got that because they've had that time. But
I can see how much you love him, and I love like finally being able to compare notes and talk about how adorable our kids are together. Have you found it as nerve-wracking as you thought you would? Our conversation.
No, it's been fun. It's been. I'm good at talking to other people and asking them, but people don't normally ask me kind of questions where I've got to talk about myself. So I'm quite kind of like private in that respect and do that. But Natasha she's a good gabber, so we do normally gab anyway. So
yeah, we do. No, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you being a good friend to me. Because even becoming a mum with Ria, like you've been there and supported me as well. And hopefully I've been able to support you.
Yeah, you've done amazing with them too anyway.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Is there anything else that you feel like, anything that you want to talk about, anything that's on your mind about being a dad or fatherhood?
I think it's probably preparing for the fact that the main thing I've struggled with afterwards, I think it's the war in Gaza for me, seeing images of children, I've had to switch off from that. And I think that's the first time where I've had to do that. I think before I could be like, oh God, that's horrific. That's really horrible. But then I'm thinking, God, if I went through that and seeing that, that's hit me probably harder than I expected.
You're
So I
going to
think
make me
it's,
cry.
yeah, but I think it's one of the, or like any kind of conflict or kind of seeing, even in my own work as a social worker, I think that's
Mm.
hit me harder than I probably realised. Is hearing what children go through, and I can't imagine that happening to Evan.
You can't, can you? Like, I think I can't. I don't think there's words for me to be able to express how I feel when I think about those children and
Yeah.
families. And like you said, even the line of work that we do, you know, I couldn't, because I was a safeguard and child protection
Mm.
worker, and I'm so, so glad I changed roles because I'm not sure if I could have done my role as a safeguarding social worker being a mum.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. I think you have a different kind of compassion
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
empathy
Yeah. You do.
for children and families, don't
Yeah. I
you?
think it's completely different. I think you then have especially in, well, a line of work as a social worker, I think there's a level of kind of sympathy for the parents and what they've got to go through and what happened. But at the same time, it's really tough to kind of see that like quite innocent children are being
Yeah.
like, I think that's just it. I think before when you heard parents going like, that's my child, I can't do that. I can't do it. You would kind of have a different head on it. You would kind of like go from it from a different point of view
Yeah.
before children,
Yeah.
and now afterwards, it's hit me a lot differently.
Same. And you know, you mentioned Gaza. Obviously, you've been my safe space within work to be able to talk about it. You know, people don't talk about it, but actually, it's been nice for me to be able to kind of share like my frustration and anger and sadness because it's that shared sense of empathy and grief, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lots of innocent children that should never ever
Yeah.
happen, especially not in a world where we're seeing it live on our feeds.
Yeah.
You
I think I would also be thinking about people's use on social media. Social media has so many amazing benefits, but I think there's the other side of it where they target new parents,
Yes.
target their anxieties, target
God, what
kind of
yes.
all their kind of worries and like because you search for things. People, my sisters did it a little bit in terms of anxieties about sleeping, eating, those kind of things. So it's like they target that, and then it kind of. So I've kind of stepped away from doing those things. Right? I'm not really.
I think that, you know, when you compare, I think it really
Yeah.
impacts your self-esteem and the
Yeah.
way you kind of feel about what am I saying? I think it's really, really hard to see pictures and lives on the squares and thinking that they're doing it better than you or
Yeah.
you're aspiring to do
Yeah.
it the way they're doing it, when in reality, it's about stripping away from all those expectations and standards and enjoying here and now with your own family
Yeah.
unit.
Yeah.
Because I think that's not always a true reflection of what's going on. It's
No.
like me talking about going to Malta that time. If I showed you the pictures, looks great, but actually behind those pictures were two very, very tired and exhausted
Yep.
parents.
Absolutely. I think that's there's that, and I think it's just being like at least mindful that people are trying to sell you things online as well.
Yeah,
Which
consumerism is a joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
Targeting like vulnerable, tired parents.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think obviously the images you might see on social media then of what should and shouldn't be happening. I think that's some of the advice I've given to my brother-in-law is trying to move away from that and be not like comparing yourself. And I said even to compare to us, don't, like, you just do your own.
Yeah, I love that.
You're doing your own thing, you'll find a way. But I think
I think as a family unit, you need to navigate your own way into life, don't you? Because each and every single family is so different from another person.
Yeah, so those were main kind of things that I've kind of taken from it, at least. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Good.
And if you want to come back and have another natter about something else.
Sure I can.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Should we do it?
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.